I think we get started. So thanks everybody for joining. I forgot to do it. I was going to, before we logged on, I was going to see how many weeks we've gone now. But I think we started back in like late March was our first week. So we've been doing this for a while. You guys are just like family.
All right.
It's definitely been fun. Yeah,
Steve, I was just thinking today it'd be cool when we were able to get together because I'd met all new people for the most part. It'd be fun to get together in a workshop or something like that in
absolutely.
islands of Hawaii.
That is in the plans. I think we start on the 23rd. Yeah. So.
What island do you live in, Carol?
I live on Oahu. I'm on the big in the big city, but there's lots to see here. So I would choose Oahu over the other islands.
Really?
Really?
City girl, huh?
Because I'm here.
I would agree too. Because
Yeah.
it offers the most photographic opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that you can shoot on this island.
Yeah. 15 weeks, we just figured out. We've been together for 15
Wow.
long weeks. You guys are still here. It's amazing. It's amazing. Well, hey, let's get started. I'm going to open in prayer, and then we're going to roll into a quick devotional tonight. We'll go through our challenge pictures that you guys sent in, and then burning questions, and say a little bit about what's happening in the future. So let's go ahead and open in prayer. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for another opportunity for all of us to get together. You know, I was just saying that it feels like everybody's family, and it really does. We thank you that we've met so many new people in this group, and just thank you for each and every person that's here and what they bring to the group on a weekly basis. We just ask that you have blessed them, bless their families, bless their businesses, everything that they're involved in, Father. We just are so thankful that your hand is upon each and every person. And we just ask that you would bless this time together tonight, that we can enjoy each other's company and have a great time. So thanks so much, Lord. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Yeah.
All right. So we Mark and I, you know, like you probably know, we talk every day just about Vertical Central and about a bunch of different photography stuff. And we've gotten a lot of people that have asked us questions and just have kind of been talking about how they're still feeling kind of anxious in today's world. And it's totally understandable with everything that's been going on. And, you know, I think we all feel that way in some way or another. And, you know, I'm not going to go down a deep, dark path here of just, whoa, but one of the things that Mark and I have realized is that these are the times that we really need to be praying, and prayer, and how important prayer really is. And I know that my prayer life during this time has actually strengthened. Mark was telling me the same thing, that his whole spiritual life has strengthened a lot during this time. And it's just been one of those things that you realize the power of prayer, you know, and how important it is to our Christian walk. But I actually looked up the definition of prayer in the dictionary, and that's not normally where I would go for spiritual things. The dictionary is not my source for all things Bible based, but I kind of like the definition of what they say prayer is. They say it's a devout petition to God or spiritual communication with God, as in supplication, thanksgiving, adoration, or confession. The act of practice of praying to God. It's a formula or a sequence of words or it's a formula or a sequence of words used in or appointed for praying, such as the Lord's Prayer. So I just thought that actually was a great definition, because it talks about the 4 different types of prayer, and it nailed it pretty well. But I want to go through just real quick 4 different verses. I'm going to actually share them so you can see them on the screen here. So I'm just going to read through these verses here, and then we'll just chat about it when we get through. So the first one is Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. So 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Jesus Christ. Romans 12:12. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. That is a great, great verse for today's world. So with those verses, I think it's just, it's one of those things that we just need to kind of meditate on and just think about how prayer can affect our life, and really the power of prayer. Mark, you had a question for the group you wanted to ask.
So we were talking today, and I just thought it'd be a good question to ask everybody is, and this isn't everybody needs to answer, but kind of the whole idea of what does prayer mean to you? Because I think to a lot of us, I shouldn't say a lot of people, prayer is just, my wish list to God. And I said something in a video one time that I believe it had to do with our India trip. And it's something my good friend John had taught me. And he always said to me, you want to get to know somebody, go take them for a walk. Because we used to take long walks together. And he used to go, this is how I get to know people. He goes, because you know what? When you take a walk with somebody, you start sharing ideas. And it some just breaks down boundaries when you're just out walking, when you're seeing things versus sitting at a table and staring eye to eye. And to me, prayer has been becoming that for me this year is a two-way conversation with God, where I will be honest to say, most of my life, prayer has been that, well, here's my list, here's my wish list. Hopefully you can fulfill it. And it's that conversation, it's that whole idea of what friend do you have that you go, yeah, I never talk to that friend. I just listen to him. Because that's how a lot of us live, right? We'll go, yeah, I read my Bible this week. I went to church. I listened. But we never talk back. We never have the conversation. So my question to you then is what is prayer to you?
For me, it's connection. I feel more connected to God, and I feel more connected to the people that ask for prayer or that I pray about. It takes me out of myself and connects with other people.
Okay, I'll probably be the odd one out here. For me, prayer has always been me just talking to God. And whether I'm at work, driving around, or taking my photographs, I don't go to a lot of church. I've tried several different religions and churches, and I've been baptized, and I do believe in God, but I have never felt that I needed to be in church in order to communicate with him. And for me, it's not so much a prayer as I just kind of catch him up on my life and, just let him know what's going on and just talk to him. I know that's really weird probably, but that's what I do.
No, it's not weird.
Not weird.
No, I agree with you, Jamie. I'm kind of in that same boat. The only
my
difference
God.
with me would be that I do attend online church a lot more now than I did before. But, on a daily basis, I talk to God all throughout the day.
Good.
That's my connection.
Thank you.
So Jamie, you're not alone.
You're not alone, Jamie.
No, you're not.
Okay.
And definitely thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, for me, I don't do a lot of praying. It's when I need help for things bigger than myself. It's mostly when I do it.
Awesome.
Yeah, like Jamie and Dee and others, I tend to talk to God just throughout the day. There are certain places that I like I'll get in my hot tub and look at the sky and just have a really good time, just sharing. He knows everything that I'm talking to him about, obviously, but he wants that connection. He wants to communicate with me. And a lot of times I'll be just thinking, I'm praying something that I've prayed a million times, and I'll say, God, it's me again. Here's my prayer. But, I know that he wants to hear from me. So I just sometimes laugh and when I'm talking to him, because I know he already knows everything I'm about to say, but sometimes I talk out loud, and sometimes, just in my head.
I think that's what's sort of important about that first verse that Steve had, Philippians 4:6, because that's been one of my favorite verses all my life. And the important part there is that he already knows what you're going to ask him, tell him or say or everything like that, but he wants that open communication between himself and you. And I think that's what 4, 6, and 7 is saying. And that is when he can then give you, at some of the translations will say, the peace that passeth all understanding. Because it's hard to comprehend how much peace you can get out of really putting yourself out there to God and having that communication with him. So I think that, again, that verse Philippians 4:6 and the next verse also 7 are just so meaningful, has been for my whole life.
The part about listening to him, then, be still and know that I'm God, or trying to hear from him. That's the harder part for me, is to be still and listen back to what he wants to communicate to me. I struggle with that.
Mm-hmm.
Much easier to do the agenda,
Yeah.
Lord, fix it, but fix it this way, because I really want it to turn out however you're asking for, instead of being quiet. And maybe he's got a whole different plan.
Right.
Annette, I really love your responses on our Connect page, the prayer request page. I love how you respond in a prayer, right? When somebody asks, for prayer, or there's an issue or concern, you always respond back with a prayer. And I love that. And, I think that means a lot to everybody in the group. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
I agree with Annette and what First Thessalonians says about praying constantly, and I pray throughout the day. Hopefully, I try, when somebody says that they're asking for prayer or seeking prayer, I try to stop and pray right at that moment and do it. In my official morning devotion, I pray every day, and I try, and it is my habit to follow the Acts prayer model. So I'm always doing adoration, confession, thanksgiving, and supplication. And I think the big thing for me in that was learning confession, was learning every day to tell God where I'm weak, where I need help, where I'm falling down, to ask for forgiveness, to repent from doing those things. So it's not just the here's my list of what I want. It's here's my list of what I need to do, and I need your forgiveness for, and I'm recognizing this, and I'm working this. And then followed by thanks, to stop and say, wait, here's all the good things in my life. Here's all the things that I'm really thankful for. It's not just the glass is half empty. The glass is half, 3/4, 7/8 full. And then the list of supplications. And I always try to remember in my list of supplications and askings to ask for others more than I ask for myself. So I've got this kind of routine that I go through on a daily, hopefully a daily basis, that really helps me. It helps me to have a structure. It helps me to have a routine that I go through. And in the Bible study fellowship classes that I attended, when we got together, we actually got down on our knees and prayed. And so I try to do that every now and then too, because it does make a difference when you're praying with your whole body and not just with your mouth or your mind.
And then you have to pray that you can get back up again. So.
That's true. That's true. It's good to have a chair or a desk handy so you can leverage yourself.
Anybody else like to share before we move on?
You know, I enjoy prayer, and I agree with Annette. I worked in a lumber mill, but I was in a control room where I was by myself, and so I could just talk to God all day. And with my photography, when I'm out and about, I love being out in nature, and I can just talk to God. And something I learned from, I don't know if it was a pastor friend of mine or what, but it was called target prayer. And that's something I've done when someone's name comes up in my mind and I don't know why. I just take a few moments to pray for them, pray that the Lord's will be accomplished in their lives. And sometimes I hear back and sometimes I don't, but I love the thought of target prayer. And it's a connecting point, like others have said tonight.
That's great.
Is that you, Kevin, down there that joined us?
Hey, everybody.
Oh, hi,
Hey,
Kevin.
Kevin,
Good to
thanks
see
for coming
you.
on. Kevin is actually, he's a long time friend of mine and friend of my family. We used to go to church together in San Francisco, known him for years and years. And Kevin, I'm not going to put him on the spot and make you sing tonight, but Kevin has one of the best voices around.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's been singing in
Thank you.
choirs and stuff. Born, so it's awesome.
I appreciate that. You know, I was following this plan and on my Bible app, and one of the things I saw this morning was if you seek him and you ask him, he will answer you. And I started thinking about that, and you know, a lot of people will say, well, if I pray, I'll get what I want. And you know, that's not exactly what that's supposed to mean, right? But what it does mean is if it's in his will and we pray for things that are especially everlasting, right? If we're praying for somebody's freedom, if we're praying for somebody's soul, basically, God will hear our prayer. And so I find myself just a little bit more lately kind of listening to hear what God wants me to pray for. Like when you said, Dave, when you hear a person's name, you kind of take a second. I've tried to do that a little bit more lately because it's not just my kids, it's not just my immediate family. People will just pop into my head. It's like, okay, they must be going through something. So I really love that you said that, Dave. And by the way, it's so good to see you guys. It's been so long.
Glad you're here. So this week, I just challenge you guys, and Eddie, I love what you shared, like the target prayer. Man, if somebody or something pops in your head, pray instantly. You know, like a number of you have mentioned, it's the verses that say pray without ceasing. And that's kind of that target prayer thing, is that something pops in, you just pray. And it doesn't have to be a long
Exactly.
prayer. It can just be whatever. And just make a practice of it. Guarantee it can change your life. So.
Mm-hmm. And you could change somebody else's life.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
when you wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and you think, why am I awake? Spend time in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's good.
We have a friend, and Kevin knows this person also. His name is Lauren Lukens. And during the Korean War, he's been a mighty warrior for God all his life. And during the Korean War, his plane was shot down. He was a pilot. Plane was shot down, and at the exact moment the plane was shot down, one of the church members was awoken in the middle of the night and said, or she has said since, that she was told by God to be praying for Lauren at that precise time. And the precise time that he was shot down, and he came out of it, survived, and still is a wonderful, wonderful warrior for God.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you all for sharing. That was That was awesome to hear. That's, you know, I know I say it every week, but man, I just love you guys, and I love that you're open and you can be vulnerable, and just that we have become like this little family. And you know, we know that I feel confident that, you know, each and every one of you would pray for me if I needed it, and you guys look at that connect page, and that's a pretty awesome thing to know that people have your back in prayer. And so I just want to thank you guys again. I can't thank you enough for being part of this group and just supporting each other. It means a lot.
You know, I don't know if Anthony's on here, but that connect page has been good because I've detected a couple of his couple struggles he's going through, and he's brave enough to post them.
Yep.
And so with that, I can spend a little bit of time in prayer for
Yeah.
Anthony.
That would be great. I mean, Anthony is not on the call again tonight, but you know, Anthony, and he I've talked to him enough about this just on the off the calls that I don't think he'd mind me sharing. But he, you know, he does struggle big time with depression, and you know, it's a challenge. He can go to a pretty dark place, and you know, Mark and I have been talking to him a lot and just encouraging, and it'd be really great for each one of you if you can just remember him in your prayers. I mean, he is such an amazing person. He's a very deep thinker. There's a lot behind Anthony that you don't even see.
Mm.
And I appreciate his friendship and appreciate what he brings to the group. He's pretty awesome. So, but I know it's a struggle for him, and there's a lot of people that struggle with depression. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's one of those issues. But, so yeah, definitely keep praying for Anthony.
So that was really interesting what you said. I'm sorry, I can't remember your first name, Mr. Batts. That
Hi.
God woke somebody up and gave them a message.
Mm-hmm.
That happened to me.
Did it
And
really?
it was in the form of a dream. And it was the exact second my mother passed away. And there was a woman waving goodbye to me in a red dress. And since she passed away, I always just thought that was my mother, you know, because we were so close. But I never ever thought that that was God telling me that. And the reason why I know that that was the exact time was because I looked at the clock. And then that same morning when the coroners were there, they asked the caregiver what time she passed. And they said 5:45 a.m. I looked at my husband and I said, that was my dream time.
Wow.
So I really hadn't put two and two together that was God. In my heart, it was all I could think of. It was my mother.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's neat. That's neat.
Chills.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thanks for sharing.
God moves in amazing ways.
Yeah.
Well, he definitely has me on his radar. And since that morning, he won't let me go. Been in my life.
Good. He's not going to let you go either. So
He's not.
definitely is not. All right. Well, thanks again for sharing. And let's show some pictures of what you guys did. Last week, our call together was a lot of fun. Mark did a great job on giving us some ideas for summertime fun. And I love the pictures that everybody submitted this week. And let me share these out to the group. And let's go through them. So as always, if your picture comes up, love to have you. If you have anything to share about it, love to have you share just about the
Great.
picture. First up is Jamie.
Good picture.
Thank you. I actually ended up having my great nieces help me with this. And they had a lot of fun. I did a lot of different water shots, but I like the clarity on this one. Know there's things I can do different to make it better. But I thought, you know what? For my first time trying something like this, I'm okay with it.
You did good.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun, and we cooled off in the water, and it was great. So thank you.
I love it. You capture the essence of exactly what Mark was showing you to do. So
If you cropped off the top of that bottle, you would blow people's minds of what's going on. It's like, right? You couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
It is cool.
Okay, I'll try that, Mark.
But it tells a story.
It's just so neat. Yeah.
Good job, Jamie.
Thank you, sir.
Excellent.
Jamie.
Yeah, I just not too creative, but I wanted to play with my new camera and try these water droplet type things. And so I should have taken a picture of my setup because it was took me a while to get it set up and then to play with it. And I did. I just shot this on Rapid. I got 30 pictures of the same thing, but not all of them turned out. So it was fun. And I was going to submit something different that I had taken of a baptismal quite a few years ago, and I couldn't find the picture. But when the boy up, he shook his head, and because of the water, it was just a sprinkle. It looked like a sprinkler effect. And this is what I put up for today.
I like it.
Thank you.
I love that color.
Was that cropped in or was that a macro lens?
I shot that with a 24-70, and so I cropped it.
That
Actually, I shot at 70. And
crop on the top makes the picture. I like that.
Oh yeah, it's so cool.
I like staring at water like that. I mean, it's the things that you can see in a snapshot of time. Speaking of snapshots,
Kevin.
That.
You need to hit the mute button.
Oh, sorry. I'm actually taking pictures while I'm watching your pictures. My bad.
That's all right. All right, Tim, you're up.
Okay, well, I quit drinking soda pop about 5 years ago and replaced it with sparkling water. And one of the things we like to do is put fruit in it. And when we dropped some frozen blueberries, it started bubbling up over the bottle. So the next day we grabbed another bottle and I grabbed the kids and they were dropping blueberries in it as I was photographing it. And it's kind of what we ended up with.
Nice.
That's awesome. So I have just discovered blueberries. Now I've had blueberries before, but I am buying boxes and boxes and boxes of blueberries. They are just,
Good place.
yes, but I love this picture.
That is so cool.
It's one of those. I mean, I want to pick up the bottle and drink it right now. So
Very nice.
let me ask how you lit it. Is it a?
That's a Rotolite. It's a round Rotolite, and the Rotolite Neo 2 has there's no recycle time. So if your camera will shoot 10 frames a second, you can get 10 frames a second out of the flash. And it's kind of distorted there up the side of the bottle, but actually it's round LED light, and it's a constant light or a flash. And we just had it over to one side.
Did good job. Looks good. Christine.
Yeah, I was struggling this week, and my model kept chewing on the water. I have a puppy, and I had him running back and forth through the sprinklers. I was throwing cookies through the sprinklers, and he was eating the water instead of the cookies. And finally, I said, we're going to the river, and then I put my older dog in the river, and because the sprinkler didn't work. It's just me, and I was spraying the sprinkler on him, and he just kept eating the prop. So, so this is my older dog who behaves.
See, that's why I can't do food photography, because I just eat the prop.
Yeah, but he was pretty happy, so that made me happy.
Oh, I bet it's definitely a happy looking dog. So
Mhm.
great, good job.
Thank you.
This is mine. And that really is my Nikon D4 with my 7200 going in the swimming pool. So it was funny. So this camera actually fell in the ocean a few years ago, and so it's dead. But we've used it for a prop for a lot of different videos, and anytime we're shooting around water. We brought it out to a workshop one time, and we messed with one of our models. We were doing a workshop out at the lake, and I dropped it in, and the look on her face was just, it was pretty funny. And then I just picked it up and I started shooting again, and she's like, "What?" but it obviously wasn't working, but it was funny. So my wife Sigrid, we took like 30 shots of trying to drop the camera in the pool.
That's a
this
heavy
weekend.
camera, just so you know.
The problem is I couldn't get the
Full of
splash
water.
ever right?
Yeah.
It would either sink too fast before the splash came up, but this one finally we nailed it where at least the lens was sharp and clear sticking out of the water. But yeah, it's not Photoshop. That is very expensive prop going into the water.
So who went in to get the camera every time?
I used the net.
Oh.
Pulled it out. Built some muscle.
But I was actually sitting in the pool shooting. So I was using my working camera in the water again, which is probably not the best idea.
So Steve, I saw that picture and it said the D4 is bulletproof, and I have a or the 4D or whatever it is, and I have a Canon 7D, and it's supposed to be somewhat water resistant. I was in the rain and I got destroyed, so I'm like, maybe I need to go get a Nikon because Steve says that it's waterproof.
That's right. Don't let the submarine.
So I'm glad you clarified that.
Yeah, I don't think you would want to try that. It makes for a fun day.
You'll get your money's worth out of it, huh?
I do. This picture from Lynn is incredible.
Awesome.
So tell me about it, Lynn. What are you doing here?
Well, I just thought that I would work with oil and water, and I never had, so it was an experiment. And actually had a photo I liked a little better, but I liked this one because it had you could see the red, white, and blue stripes, like a flag.
Mm-hmm.
And what I had underneath it was a flag, like one of those cheap little flags you buy. You put on your lawn or on your golf cart or whatever. So it took me a while to figure out how to get it lit from the bottom because I don't have any lights. So I put the Pyrex dish on a round glass table, and then I flipped the flag about 3 or 4 inches underneath the glass. And then I went and got a camping lantern, a little one, and I put it underneath to add some light underneath. And then I just snapped it. So what you're seeing in those bubbles, I don't know how it happened, is the flag.
And I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
And one of my photos was really neat because up in the corner, some of the bubbles had stars.
Oh.
But the photo wasn't as clear. It wasn't as nice. So I couldn't use it. And
That's a great picture.
I didn't know how to Photoshop them in.
I like those 3 or 4 smaller bubbles over to the left side that really show the red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, Lynn, this is probably one of my favorite graphic pictures I've ever seen.
Really?
Really. Like it is that good.
Yay, Lynn.
Thank you.
It is really, really good. I seem to say that every week about whatever you're posting because
You kind of get lost in it.
I do. I keep staring at it. And I was telling Mark today, I said, it would make a great metal print. It's great for, a desktop screensaver. It is really, really good.
Very good.
I would love for you to actually work on this same shot and see if you can get those stars in the image. I mean, I think you have an award-winning picture if you can nail that. Like it is that good. So
any suggestions on a light I could use? And Glenn, that's exactly what my husband said.
Yep.
He saw a Pepsi bubble in there.
I saw that too.
I saw it, yeah.
You know what? Your lantern works fine. Don't mess with it.
Yes.
Yep.
What lens did you use, Lynn?
I used my 90 millimeter macro because with my zooms I couldn't get close enough.
Okay.
I couldn't get my tripod up high enough.
Okay.
So
And then how did you shoot it? Did you shoot it straight from above? And if so, what did you have to do a tripod with an arm, or how did you get that angle just right?
Well, my little glass table was octagonal, so it fit my tripod. I just had a regular tripod, fine, and so I could get it over an edge of the dish, so it was fine. Had it been a square table, it probably wouldn't have worked. But
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, I actually want to do some more of them because I have another one that's kind of monochrome, but I actually love the shapes better than I like these shapes. But I just went with the red, white, and blue.
But keep working on it. Like I say, I think you've got a winning concept. So
You just splash some oil with water and mixed it up.
I did. And the more you mess with the oil, the smaller the bubbles get. And believe it or not, this was my very last photo of about 200. So I messed with those bubbles a lot.
don't tell us that. You did it all in one shot.
Yeah.
Getting kind of small.
Good job.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That's mine, and I don't. I just did it last night, so I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and I thought about I should have had my granddaughter, do like a cannonball in the pool, but she wasn't with me last night, so I just took a nectarine and dropped it in the water, and or my husband did. So we probably did it about 15, 20 times. And yeah, this was the favorite, although I don't know, it doesn't seem like the water doesn't seem all that sharp. So I think I should have increased my shutter speed. But anyway, that's.
I actually think it works well because of the way it's spraying. It shows a spray rather than a frozen shot.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Like
Shows motion.
Yep.
And were you in the shade?
Yes, I purposely looked for a shady spot. So I had probably about 2 feet on the ledge that had some shade. And then this overlooks a part of my backyard. So I, purposely looked. I remember Mark talking about making sure the background had, mostly, kind of solid colors so that you're using that as a backdrop. So that's primarily the trees back there.
Turned out well.
Really neat.
Good job. That's good.
Yeah.
James.
I didn't have anybody to help with an assistant all week, so I just grabbed my camera and went out to the lake and was hanging out with friends and threw my camera in a waterproof bag and got in the water and played around for a while.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, was your camera in the water? Because
it was. Yeah, I was half in the water with that, but it's in a waterproof bag I got off of eBay for $5, and the thing, it never leaks yet, and it's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
No, it's a good shot. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. That was going to be my question for you: is how are you in the water? Are you using a Nikon waterproof camera?
It is a Nikon, but not a waterproof one.
Good job.
Thank you.
All right, Glenn.
Well, I wasn't on the call last week, so I went and watched the recording. And one thing about watching the recording is that you can, every time that Mark says something that you can't hear, you can stop it and back it up and go, what did he say? And so, so I was taking notes and I got all the information, and I was really fortunate that my wife was intrigued by helping me in the yard. So we used a hose, we used different nozzles, we used all kinds of different things to see what we could do. And I used different, shutter speeds and all this stuff, playing around with it. I spent way too much time having fun doing this. But my wife was helping me. She was enjoying it. So anyway, I let her pick which image would be our final. And she really liked this one, mainly because of the impact of the water droplets on the back of this lady.
Yeah, that one.
Flying in all different directions. So it's backlit. That's a little ceramic in the yard. And this was done with a watering can, an old style tin watering can, just spraying it from above. And we had a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely fun picture.
Loved all those flower ones you did.
Yeah, in your goofing around pictures that you had posted, you had some great ones in there too. So good job.
I did a black background and then a black velvet background, and I tried to do, several of the things Mark said and just say, oh, look, here's proof.
Yep.
Yep.
Karen, this is a great commercial Pringles shot. It is.
I was kind of cursing Mark the whole day I was trying to do this. Because as soon as I saw him do it, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I spent most of the day trying to rig up something that would balance the chips, but nothing worked. They would crash to the ground and break up into little bitty pieces. I strung strings and I thought about hanging them from threads and all that kind of stuff. And I finally got to the point where I shot about, however many chips there are, 20, 25 photos. And I just took a long set of tweezers. I shot the Pringles thing and the broken chips on the ground. And then I took various chips with my tweezers and I just took a shot for every one of those chips.
Wow.
And then because you can't see how they're blending together, you don't really, even though I was shooting live, you don't really remember where you put the last chip. So when I got all the pictures together, I put them in Photoshop and I selected each chip so I could move it around. And I think it was about 25 layers I used, which was a lot better because some of them were overlapping. And so I just masked them out and moved them around. And I was fairly happy with this at the end of it.
Yes, that's extremely good.
That's one that Pringles would pay for, because I know you do food photography all the time, but what a great photo. And that one chip right at the top of the can that's sort of, the tip of it's down in there. That is a fantastic, fantastic photo.
Thank you very much. I just stuck the chip in there. I tried to get as many chips in different areas as I could without standing in the light, but I couldn't find my remote trigger, so I had to stand relatively close to the camera. I had my 50mm lens on it. So some of the chips aren't as well lit as I would like, but it was really fun doing that.
So who ate your prop? Did anybody eat your prop after you were done?
No, yes, the dogs got the broken ones when they fell on the floor, and my husband and daughter will probably get the rest of them.
Well, great job. I loved it.
Awesome, Karen.
Terry, beautiful.
Nice.
Beautiful.
I knew I couldn't do the drop ones, and I kept thinking, now how can I do these splash things? And I'm like, well, I think I'm just going to go out in the backyard and play around with the squirt bottle.
So what did you use for a background?
That's just shooting. I didn't. That's just out in the backyard shooting.
Wow.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
I love the clarity of the drops.
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, the little drops just pull you right in.
Yeah.
Definitely a good job.
Really nice.
All right.
I love that.
That is the plums. from my
That's
mom.
plums. I've been cutting and pitting 300 or 400 plums to make plum jam. So this was my prep for the pitting the plums.
She's a plum pitter.
I'm a plum pitter.
A pretty plum pitter. I love the drops. It's awesome.
Yeah, I love the plum.
Yeah.
And the different colors of the plums.
So pretty.
They're all the Santa Rosa plums, but some of them were much darker than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
Did add a little bit of glycerin to the water so the droplets would stay.
Oh, yeah.
Smart move.
Yeah.
Hey, Sue, I have a question. Do you do what I do? You see something, you go, oh, that would make a great picture, and then I get sidelined taking pictures.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very definitely.
I'm a dangerous driver.
Judy, tell me what we're looking at here.
Well, I didn't have any help.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't have a helper.
It is. It is. Terry, you and I should have gotten together.
I know.
So this is, it's a piece of glass, and it has oil and water on it, food coloring, and salt.
Oh.
Oh.
Very smart.
Is it on top of the glass?
It is on top of the glass. Yep.
Really neat.
Thanks.
Like when you posted the picture
Mhm.
today, I was like, what am I looking at?
I know.
It's intriguing, right? I just want to know. But I love what you,
It's
love
kind
what
of supposed to be like water and the beach and the sunset, but
I totally see that.
yeah.
It's like a watercolor.
Yeah, like a wave.
you did create a piece of art. It's nice. Very, very nice.
Abstract, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's another one that you could, I mean, you could print that and hang it. It's
Yep, you could.
Thank you.
good.
You must have painted the food coloring. You must have painted it.
I swabbed it a little bit.
Tim, are you taking
I didn't
notes?
really paint it.
Because I started off with red food coloring and it just like looked like splattered blood. And I went, oh, no, no. I didn't have-
Yeah, Tim is taking notes. He's going to steal your painting methods. So
No problem.
good job, Judy.
Thank you.
This is from Kelly. She's not on the call tonight, but great, great picture of a daylily. Love those water droplets. Looks awesome.
That's pretty.
And that,
So, hey, Mark, did you feel all the anger that was presented to you in this challenge?
we're cursing you, Mark. So great job, everybody. Hopefully you're having fun with all these challenges, and hopefully that was a challenging challenge.
It was a challenging challenge.
I think we are all challenged with the challenge. To each challenge.
It was. You're doing a good job, Steve.
So we've come to that moment of time where if you have any burning questions, they don't even have to be burning, they can just be smoldering. But if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. And it's not just asking Mark or I, but you can ask anybody in the group. We can collectively answer if we don't know the answers. But we thought it would be just fun to actually just see if people had questions that had to do with anything. You can ask anything. Our life is an open book. But if you have a photography question that you want to ask, or something that, you know, a method or something you're struggling with, put it out there. Let's spend the next few minutes just having a conversation. Eddie, you've got your.
I have a question.
Okay.
Do you guys buy insurance on your equipment, or how do you feel about that?
It's mandatory.
That's a good question.
Yeah, great question. So I have two different insurance policies. So I have one that covers all of my equipment, including my computers, hard drives. And then we have our business insurance plan, which covers everything that we do liability-wise for all of our workshops, including travel and all that stuff. So, but for your personal equipment, absolutely, it's a big investment. I mean, Eddie, you just bought a new camera.
Mm-hmm.
So we use Hill and Usher. They're an insurance broker that makes a product called Package Choice, or provides a product called Package Choice that's built just for photographers. And it's a great insurance package. That when the D4 that I tossed in the pool, they actually paid for that. Well, they paid for my replacement after it got dropped in the ocean. But it's one of those things. If you have a $10,000 insurance hit that would not have been covered normally, where I would have had to pay for that, it was really nice that insurance paid for that to get a replacement. So things happen.
And a lot of people always think that, well, I put it on my homeowners, or insurance companies are very smart these days, and they'll start looking and they'll go, oh, it says Eddie Erickson Photography on your Facebook page. We don't cover your business expenses.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way.
Oh.
I slipped going to Bernie Falls in the ice and busted the lens off the camera body quite a few years ago. It was a $900 lens, and it was going to cost me $1,000 for insurance. I didn't have insurance for it. So yeah, I learned a lesson.
So
But I
yeah,
still don't have insurance.
PPA, Professional Photographers of America, if you sign up with them, they provide insurance. But from what I've researched and found, the insurance is very hard to actually make a claim on. So just be cautious of getting, free insurance from some of these places, or very low cost insurance. When you need insurance, you want someone that will pay your claim.
You recommend
What's the name of that
PPA?
company?
Glenn, you do PPA, aren't you? You're a member of PPA, aren't you, Glenn?
He's muted.
He's sleeping.
Could you put that Phil and Usher name on your website?
Glenn, are you a member of PPA?
Yes.
Yeah. What have you had experience with their insurance?
No, but I've heard of a lot of other people who have. And the big thing about insurance too is liability, because it's one thing to replace your equipment, but it's another thing if they sue you because you didn't cover the wedding or whatever the case may be. And PPA will back you in. I've heard of several photographers that have had to call on PPA to help protect them from occurrences like that.
Okay.
Now, when you sign up with either Hill and Escher or PPA, do they help you put all your stuff together, or is there somebody you can talk to if you've
Yeah,
never done this before?
Very, very helpful.
Yep.
And in fact, if you have an itemized insurance policy for all of your equipment, they're going to require serial numbers for all the equipment and stuff too. But if you ever change any pieces of your equipment, you just go online and you can enter in a new piece of equipment on the insurance schedule. So it makes it really easy to modify your plan and add and delete stuff. But
And it's replacement cost?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They don't prorate it.
There's a deductible, but it's not prorated. So they gave me full, what would have been a D4S is what they wanted to replace it with, which is the same model, but I ended up getting 2 cameras. I got an 810 and a 750 that were the same price as getting one D4S. So, and they wrote a check for the amount of the D4S is what they did.
Thank you.
Yep. Good question.
When you guys are using your strobes outside, is there ever a reason why you would use 2 of them instead of just one Interfit S1, for example? Most of the videos I've seen on YouTube with the Panoptic chopsticks has been using one strobe. Do you ever take 2 with you to use?
We take 4 usually. So Mark has a set, I have a set if we're shooting together. But Mark, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we yes, we do. I mean, matter of fact, we just put a video out today, and if you look close, we did a thing where we created a sunset. But
that's cool.
I think it is how you shoot. If I'm going to shoot something indoors studio, I'm shooting 2 or 3 lights every time, minimum. But the reality is, I would say 90% of the time, because outside of the stuff that we do, the stuff that Steve and I make money doing is senior portraits, engagement sessions, weddings. And it's just not practical to shoot, a senior portrait session out at the park with 2 lights. You can't get anything done. It's cumbersome. I'm lazy, whatever the excuse is. But I mean, it really is that I'm constantly looking, to backlight it with the sun. I'm also, to be that second light. So I would definitely say, it's not a matter of, nope, I don't think you need it. No, there's a definite reason to shoot with 2 lights or 3 lights. But then there's the reality of making a living.
Yeah, I think that's Mark gave the exact answer. That the time that we use 2 lights is if we're using one in a backlit situation, or if we're shooting a wedding and it's a group shot, we'll always use 2 lights just so you get the coverage. But really the majority of the time it's 1 light. And it's just like Mark said, it's because sometimes I don't have an assistant to help. And I've got, you know, cameras, props, lights, light stands, sandbags, and everything. And just the physical movement of all that. And one's blowing over, and, you know, it's just, your light will always blow over. And so I'd rather have one light blow over than two. But
it's funny. I had a studio for a while, and I loved having multiple lights up. It was fun to do, and you work with ratios, but that's the studio.
It is a lot of work. Like you said, Steve, I use two S1s when I'm shooting a group. We did some Pop Warner football pictures here a few years ago, and to get the coverage, I had two, but then I had two helpers holding lights because it was kind of a windy day.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. All right, who's got a question here?
I have a question. It's Lightroom related.
Okay.
How often do you open up a new catalog, or do you just keep running your same catalog and adding on?
I don't use the catalog system at all
Yeah.
in Lightroom. I just don't. I use Lightroom, but I don't catalog it because nothing stays on my local hard drive. So I bring the pictures in, sits on the hard drive on my computer, and then as soon as I'm done, it goes to another hard drive and it's offloaded and put in a safe. Yeah. So, and then goes up to SmugMug. So I've got multiple backups, but my hard drive on my computer is not my storage area, and I don't have a RAID network of all these hard drives connected together. I've got, I think 25 terabytes worth of pictures. Like, to have a catalog that size just is too much, so I just don't use it.
Well, just the thumbnails or whatever there, I offload everything to an external hard drive, but I'm just wondering because it seems to be so slow right now, and I wonder if it's just because all my files are too big on there.
It could be clogged up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious what other people do. Do they, start a new one, or?
Yeah, I do this. So I have my little drawer here, so I've got, 1, 2, 3. So
that's Mark's catalog, trying to find it.
Now they're getting big, you can buy them really cheap, a 5 terabyte drive for whatever, $130.
Anybody else, a Lightroom user, have a different answer or something to chime in on?
With Lightroom, I pretty much create a new hard drive for every year, and on there is the catalog. So I kind of have that annual. So I just pull out if I know I need something from a few years ago. I'll pull that drive out, stick it in.
Your Lightroom's on there, and all your folders, all your pictures.
Yep.
I wished I could say, I have my RAID system and I have it on 3 different drives, and it just doesn't work. Carol had a question, and I might have an answer for her. And she bought a wireless shutter boss. She's unable to get to talk with her Sony A3.
So what is the shutter boss? Is
it a trigger?
It's a trigger.
Okay.
I have that one.
So we actually had the exact same, like a similar problem this week with Richard Lau and his A7R3 or his A7R3.
Okay.
And what we had to do is go into his menu, and it says wireless. You have to turn off the Sony wireless.
Turn off.
In the flash settings, actually, it says Sony wireless. Make sure that's on off.
And then everything worked after that. We couldn't get the Westcott stuff to work. So what I think it is that Sony defaults to their wireless system to talk to their flashes wirelessly, so it's on. So when you put a different trigger on, it's still trying to send a wireless signal to a flash, so it's not using the hot shoe right.
Gotcha. Okay.
But once we turned that off, we played around at lunchtime with it, and I was like, I wonder what this does. We turned it off, and we put the full thing on, and everything worked perfectly.
So you'll find it in the Sony menu. You go over to like menu number 5, I think it was in, and then it's in the flash menu, and then Sony menus are so hard to get through, but it's somewhere in there, and it says wireless
Yeah, I think menu 2 had it.
Was it menu 2? Okay.
1 and 2 or
Oh,
something.
menu 2?
I
Okay.
think that's what it seems like, but it just said wireless. We turned it off and it all worked.
So first it's flash and then it's wireless.
Yep. So the
Okay.
wireless needs to be off.
All right. I will hunt it down. But I did everything. I read the manual. I've looked through Google and I just can't get it to talk. I'm like, oh no, but I know it's me.
It might even be in the list right next to Flash. It might even be another page over, in one of those menus. But
Okay.
it probably said wireless.
Shutter?
Huh?
You have it set to mechanical shutter instead of electronic?
I don't know. There's a difference.
That is another thing too on the Sonys.
Yeah.
If you're using that shutter boss thingy and it's on electronic shutter, it will not trigger it.
Oh, turn off of electronic shutter. Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, my Fuji's that way.
Same thing.
Okay, thank you. I will look for that as well.
Carol, I don't have the answer, but it is a setting like Mark and Steve said. I watched a Mark Galler video, and he's the Sony ambassador.
Okay.
And I thought I wrote it down somewhere, but I can't find it. But it is a setting.
Okay.
And while I have your attention, my screen says, please request record permission from the meeting host. I didn't do that on purpose. So just
Well, I've already banned you. I banned you from all future meetings, Lynn. So
ignore my request.
I have a question on, discs and all. Like, how long do you keep them? I'm afraid at some point in time, I'm going to shoot and the disc is going to go bad or something. Do you date it? How do you know? Like, I don't even know when I got this disc. It works fine. I used it today.
what is a disc? Are you talking about your memory card?
SD cards.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, my
I
little
didn't know if
Santa
you're CDs
card.
or what you're doing.
Yes. So what do you guys do about that? Do you just keep using them over and over again? I don't know. I'm just curious.
I use it until they die.
Yeah.
They're separating.
Until I lose.
Still has one from 1986 that he puts in his camera. But now
So
I use them for as long as my camera will still shoot with it. It's like the reason why I've replaced them is because there's faster cards out there that because I've had one card go bad. One. In all the time I've been taking pictures, I've had one card go bad. So it's just the speed of the card has improved each year.
Do you have a favorite? What do you use?
I used to use exclusively Lexar,
Uh-huh.
but then they went out of business. And so I've been using a combination of SanDisk. We actually just bought a whole pile of ProGrade, which was made by, the company was started by the guys that ran Lexar before they started a new company. And so we're going to be testing those cards the next week, but we got a whole bunch of them.
And I'm shooting, like, I'm sure Ed, I don't know if Eddie's doing it yet. I'm shooting on XQD cards, but I also have the Sony Tough cards.
Which are super expensive.
Super expensive, yeah.
And you wouldn't have bought it, but you got it.
I wouldn't. I won it at Sammy's Camera at a Sony event. So
lucky you.
Yeah, I was like, hey, you just won a 64 gig. It's nice.
But that card that Mark has, that Sony Tough card, is super fast.
Yeah, it's like 330 megabits per second.
And then his XQD, which Nikon really is the only one that's using that right now, is even faster. And then the CFast cards, which are the next generation of cards that are coming out, are almost 1,000 times faster. They're blazing fast. So. But good question, Matt. Yep.
Hey, Mark, when you shoot your 850, do you shoot to your primary card as your XQD, and then you back it up with your SD?
No, I just shoot to one card. I've never lost a picture, and I'm sure one day it'll happen, and I'll go, why did I never do that? But I use it as my overflow. I actually use it as my, oops, I forgot to put a card in it today. Good thing I have 2 card slots. That's most of the time what it is for me.
Thank you.
I did that the other day. I didn't have a card in my computer, and my 810 has a CF card in it, believe it or not. So it's an SD card and a CF card, which it's hard to find a camera with a CF. I couldn't find a CF reader. So I actually learned that I can just simply copy back from my CF card to my SD card in the camera, and it worked fine. So I'm like, I can't find a CF reader.
Yeah, the cards are basically a hard drive, aren't they?
Yep, pretty much.
Is that compact flash, the CF?
Yep.
I got one
Yep.
in my reader.
Yeah, I have that, and it has
Yeah.
like takes SDCF and something else.
Yeah.
I used to have one of those readers. I just don't know where it went.
It disappeared, huh?
In Mark's box.
Probably it's in his box.
No, it wouldn't. If it was with you, I would have left it somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, with Mark, I always make fun of him because every time we're someplace or he's over at my house, something gets left behind. This week it was
today and said, "Hey, I have your Surface mouse."
Any other burning questions?
No more questions.
Non-burning questions.
Do you have any tips and tricks about focus? I'm always seeming to be just slightly off of my focus. Do you guys do anything in particular to help focus? Do you rely on the automated focus entirely, or do you?
100%.
Okay.
I don't trust myself to focus.
My eyes can't see good enough to focus manually.
Yeah.
The only time I do manual focus is shooting astrophotography. That I'll do manual because I can't get my camera to focus.
Yeah.
But Glenn, do you use back button focus?
No.
Okay, so that's one thing that could help you.
What are you shooting with? What's your camera?
I mean, right now I'm shooting with a Sony RX10.
Okay. So I don't know, I don't know if the RX10 has back button focus.
I mean, part of my question is when you're dealing with limited depth of field, is I always have this mental game of what do I focus on? Do I focus on the closest thing? Do I focus on the, when flowers and they're moving or bugs and they're moving? I mean, I look at Lynn's work and her work is so stunningly sharp. And I look at my work and I go, how come my work doesn't look like that? Well, it could be a lot of things, but I'm just wondering if anybody has any.
I hate to say it, but Lynn's stuff is so sharp because she often uses a tripod.
Tripod, yeah.
And you're talking to the wrong guy if you're talking about tripods because I never use a tripod. But my stuff isn't as sharp as Lynn's. It's because she does use a tripod.
So I shoot Sony as well. And I have found the best mode is the spot focus, where you can pick the small, medium, and large spot. And it's more difficult because if you have anything moving, you have to move with it. But that has been my most reliable focus. I think it's called mode. You have focus area and focus mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the little spot. And I usually pick medium unless my subject is hiding behind a lot of twigs. Because if you're not on that, then your camera decides what to focus on,
right,
and your subject is out of focus.
I experienced that. I was shooting some senior photos quite a few years ago. It's only a couple of years ago. And I thought, well, I'm going to try something different on the focus. I put it on matrix. And I thought I had her in focus, and I got back and the picture's blurry. I freaked out.
Yeah,
I don't go there.
And that's the thing, Glenn. I always use a center shot focus. Before I started back button focusing, I would move the focus point around to whatever I was shooting. But I was shooting a lot of concerts back then, and it actually got to be kind of difficult to move my cursor inside the camera fast enough, depending on what kind of music I was shooting. So I went to back button focus, and that really made things easier, because your camera will either, it's funny because Mark's 850 works different than my 810 on the back button focus. So you'll use say AF on or AF-L, which is a lock. So like for his, he can hit it and it locks. Mine, I have to hold it. If I release it, it unlocks. But basically what I can do is I can focus and then recompose. So I always have that center focus dot on. And if I was shooting my wife here and I wanted to make sure that eyeball was in focus, I would just lock it and then move that focus point right on top of the eyeball. And then I can move it back. So, I can lock it to wherever that is. But the back button focus definitely helps. By raise of hand, who back button focuses on your camera? Okay. It's a discipline that once you get it, you'll never go back, but it's a hard thing to train your brain at first.
And if you don't know what he's talking about,
There's a learning curve.
yeah. If you don't know what he's talking about too, it sounds like it's something so difficult. All you're doing is you're assigning, instead of pushing the shutter button halfway down to focus, you use one of the back buttons. You assign it as the focus button. So you would focus with your back button, you release it, and that way you can just fire. You don't have to go, oh, I only hit it halfway down and now it refocused somewhere else. It's just using the back button is all it means.
Thank you.
So it's my understanding that you do not have to use back button focus on Sony's, that there's no value.
That's what people with Sony say.
But you can select it or not select it. I mean, it's your choice.
I could.
Yeah, if you want to, you can.
Right.
You don't have to.
Right.
Hey, Lynn. For the focus area, there's 3 different spot focuses, I think. There's like flexible spot, there's expand flexible spot, and then there's lock on expand flexible spot. So which one do you normally use?
I think it's expand flexible spot, but I have to go get my camera. So we could come back. I could go get it, and then if you guys, oh,
does that help?
No, I can't see it.
Okay. Okay, probably expand flexible spot. That makes sense.
And then you could go left or right to the small, medium, and large, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
And if I have a hard time getting it, I use large, but I'm typically on medium.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hear from a lot of Sony people that say, you don't need a back button focus because the auto AF is so, the eye focus is so good. But we also see a lot of blurry photos.
Well, I would love to get together with a Sony shooter and talk about how to set my camera up and understand how to use the iFocus, because it doesn't always work. And I know that there's settings you have to be set up and you have to understand it. And now that they've introduced I think it's since they introduced the animal eye, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I don't think I have my camera set up properly.
How many Sony shooters are on the call?
Let's see.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Maybe sometime when we have Scott back on, just for a special Sony call, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried YouTube?
Yes, all the time.
That's my go-to.
Mark Galler's got a great, it's ebook and it's huge. It's 300 pages, but he goes through all the steps on how to recommended settings. And there's so much to learn that I forget.
Yeah, it's just information overload.
Mm-hmm. It's like a little mini computer. I'm sure all of yours are like that too. But
yep.
I'm probably only using like 10% of its capabilities because it's just so much to learn.
Yeah, look at Mark. He's a wealth of knowledge.
Okay. How do you spell his last name?
Galer, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we'll take one or two more, and then if anybody has any more.
I have a quick question. For when you're shooting the Milky Way, I totally failed the other week, and I did not get a good focus. So because I was manually focusing, how do you get a focus on the Milky Way?
Good question.
That is a good question.
Aren't you supposed to focus before like the Milky Way comes out, you focus on like the North Star?
Or something at infinity.
Yeah.
You should be able to just bring the stars up, zoom in on your screen find like the brightest star, zoom in on that star, and then just manually focus it until it's sharp on your screen.
Right.
Well, some people get the focus and they put gaff tape on it so it doesn't drift off. Because if you lose it while you're out there in the dark, it's almost impossible to get it back.
So yeah, the key is you have to make sure that your lens is on manual focus and not on any type of auto.
No auto.
It will never work with autofocus. So,
but you should be able to zoom in right on, like, just like if you were, setting up for a studio shot, you zoom in and you're like, ooh, is the eye perfectly sharp? Then you back out, just zoom in on a star, get it sharp, and then back out, and just don't touch the focus again.
And if you have foreground, you just completely ignore the foreground, right? And just focus on the star. Because my foreground was totally out of focus too. And because it was much closer to me than the Milky Way was. So everything was just, yeah.
it's hard.
I can relate.
No easy trick
Yeah.
with doing astrophotography. You're going to have blurry shots. You're going to have some that are great. So just keep taking them.
Okay, thank you.
So Carol,
Google stars. You just Photoshop them in.
Oh,
it is flexible spot.
Flexible spot.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, one quick question. Anybody ever try and shoot through a telescope at some of those real awesome planets?
There's a guy here in Redding, Corey Poole, that does a lot of that.
I haven't tried it.
How does Anthony get all those moon shots?
With his camera.
I have a question. Has anyone ever used those telescope lenses?
Teleconverters?
Not a teleconverter. It's like a telescope lens.
Extension tubes?
Nope. Nope. Looks just like a telephoto lens, but it's like very long.
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
I haven't used one. You got to have an adapter, I think, somehow to put your camera on it.
Yep, have not.
I just wondered if they actually worked.
No idea.
No idea.
I can tell you.
All right. Well, as always, you can ask any burning questions you have on the page on Facebook, and somebody will answer your burning question, hopefully. So it's not us, but hopefully you learned something, and that was worth your while to just have those questions. But we wanted to let you know that the next 2 weeks is considered summer vacation. So Mark and I actually have a job that will be covering both Mondays. So we will be taking the next 2 weeks off. We'll be coming back. And what day would that be? The
27th.
We're out from the 13th to the 20th, so the
27th. So the 27th, we'll be back up again. We will post a challenge though for you guys, so you'll be able to post to that. But You have 2 weeks without us. With tears. I can see
Two
it.
different challenges?
We could do 2 different challenges even. If you guys are up for it.
Always.
But during that time, please remember to keep checking the Connect page. People have been pretty active on that recently. Terry, I know you posted something. Actually, that was today, I think.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He's still pretty sick.
It sounds like it.
Yeah. You know, he's only 27 and to be going through that. So I talked to my sister today and she said she doesn't know if he's still in ICU or not, but he's still in the hospital and, you know, blood clots and I don't know what the hole in the tummy is.
Hmm.
So,
So
you
yeah,
know,
any prayer requests, post them there and keep checking on that. But otherwise, the 27th is the time that we'll be back together again. So please return. We'll miss you greatly.
Yes.
Hey, how's your brother?
I don't know, unless my parents got any new news. We chatted with him, or texted
Yeah.
2 days ago, and he still hadn't heard back from his test. So my brother
results.
might have COVID, he and his wife. He's an emergency room nurse up in Salem, Oregon. But we haven't heard. Have you heard anything, Mom or Dad?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
I was kind of surprised, since he is a nurse, that they haven't pushed through any testing, but
Yeah, that's a long time not to get results.
Yeah.
It would normally take about 14 days, I hear.
I don't know, but I would think if you're on the front lines, they don't want you back in if you're,
Absolutely.
if you're testing positive. So.
My daughter and I were tested here in Vegas and had results back in 3 days. My son is down in Arizona in a small community. He was tested and he got it back in 2 to 3 days. They told him 10, but they got him back in 2 to 3 days. And he tested positive. So he's on isolation now. So.
Well, our son, he had his test done, I guess, through the hospital since he is a nurse. And then his wife, Kelly, had hers done at another lab, or another testing site. So his, as Sue says, maybe was moved up a little bit, but we probably will hear some results tomorrow.
Yeah, I was going to
hopefully
contact him tomorrow to find out.
Yeah.
I think we had that 4th of July long weekend too.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
That was the other thing I got was Kyle had been really sick on a business trip and it was like an award ceremony and he didn't go down for that and stayed in his room for 2 days and went home, got tested, and he had influenza B. And so they're wondering if maybe that has weakened his heart and stuff and led into this other stuff.
All right. Well, thank you again for another great evening.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll actually announce the challenge shortly. We've got some ideas that we're kicking around, but since we're not meeting back together again until the 27th, but it'll be a good challenge, and we've got some ideas for the next meeting too, so it'll be fun.
Gonna miss you.
Yes.
Very much so.
Have a good break.
Glad you got work.
I hope you guys are doing something fun.
Yeah.
We're shooting horsies.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So we've got an event up in Madras, Oregon. We were supposed to be doing it for the last couple months, but finally they're able to do a show. So it's a cutting horse show. And so we're actually doing all the video work and photography work for them.
Cool.
All right. Good.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
Cool. 6 days of it. It'll be fun.
6 days. 6 days. So we have our cowboy boots and our hats and yeah.
And he looks good.
Caps and your rope and everything, huh?
My chaps, yeah.
We want pictures.
Yes, pictures, yes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, Chip, would you mind closing us out in prayer tonight?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this gathering. We thank you for the technology that allows us to come together. But most of all, Father, we thank you that we can gather in your name, in your Son's precious name, and fellowship and bond and learn and just have a great time. I pray that everybody have a great week, that they stay safe, that we lift up the prayers in Vertical Connect, and we ask you these things in your Son's most precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.